he would do a lot of foul shit. Like behind the scenes, he would do some foul shit, like hating on, like doing things with people I'd done business with that he done business with. He would say shit that I was like, he said that to you?
Right.
I was like, yeah, so all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and niggas don't know what they like till they see somebody.
He thought the courtroom verdict gave him freedom. But just when Diddy tried to breathe again, 50 Cent dropped one AI video that turned his entire legacy into a joke and the internet never let him recover. The judgment had already been delivered, and the glow of the courtroom was fading into memory. Reporters packed up their gear, chasing the next headline, leaving behind an air of calm. For Diddy, it may have felt like the chaos had finally loosened its grip, an opportunity to exhale. Yet calm has a way of being short-lived. Out of nowhere, 50 Cent stepped back into the spotlight, not with lawyers or press releases this time, but with a video that poured fuel back onto the embers, sparking the controversy all over again. For Diddy, those first hours after the verdict might have carried a fragile sense of relief. Courtrooms are suffocating places, not only for the accused but for the image they've built. The bright lights, the relentless cameras, the endless speculation, it all strips a person of control. When the final gavel fell, even with the storm of legal troubles still swirling, he may have convinced himself the worst was behind him. He wasn't exonerated in the court of public opinion, but at least the gavel had stopped echoing in the room. He could return home, retreat into the safety of his walls, and perhaps begin patching together the fragments of his reputation. But 58 Cent has always understood timing. To him, silence is not an ending, it is a stage, a pause in the music, where the drop lands, heavier than anything that came before. And that's exactly what he delivered. While the public's attention began drifting elsewhere, while journalists typed up their closing analyses and television crews rolled their cables, 50 was sharpening his weapon of choice, spectacle. The video appeared online without warning, and in seconds, the fragile quiet that Diddy thought he'd secured evaporated. This was not a carefully worded statement, or a vague allusion buried in a press conference. It was something far more disruptive, an AI-generated parody so jarring, so tailored to humiliation, that it made courtroom testimony look like background noise. 50 Cent didn't just step back into the conversation. He rewrote the narrative entirely. In his hands, technology became satire, and satire became a scalpel cutting directly into the fabric of Diddy's public image. The brilliance of the move wasn't only in the content, but in the delivery. Social media thrives on immediacy and absurdity, and the video embodied both. Within minutes, timelines were flooded with clips, reaction posts, memes, and remixes. For some, it was comedy gold. For others, it was a disturbing reminder of just how fragile reputations have become in the digital age. No matter which side viewers fell on, the effect was the same. Everyone was talking about 50 Cent and Diddy again. And for Diddy, that was the true nightmare. Courtrooms he could endure, lawyers he could hire, statements he could craft, but memes, AI-generated parodies, viral skits fueled by ridicule. That battlefield was unwinnable. Each laugh was another crack in his armor. Each repost was another blow to the empire he had spent decades building. In that sense, 50 Cent hadn't just reignited controversy, he had shifted the battleground from a legal fight to a cultural one, where verdicts aren't written on paper but carved into memory by the collective power of the internet. What Diddy faced now wasn't just scrutiny, it was something far worse: ridicule. And ridicule, once it takes hold, has a way of lingering long after the lawyers have gone home. The courtroom lights may have dimmed, but a new spotlight had been switched on, hotter, harsher, and far more unforgiving. And under that light, Diddy found himself not as the mogul, not as the businessman, not even as the defendant, but as the punchline.
Should start looking gray if you ain't got nothing on it.
It's got the new baby oil, bro.
This ain't baby oil. This is
Nigga, you ran through 8,000 jars of them in prison.
baby.
I mean, he was Ashy Larry.
Relax.
I mean,
I still got everybody looking.
50 Cent has once again taken aim at Sean Diddy Combs, this time with an AI-crafted video designed to sting. The clip portrays Diddy dressed in a baby oil costume, a pointed reference to the baby oil reportedly confiscated during raids on his properties in the midst of ongoing legal troubles. It's another sharp dig in a long-running series of jabs, with 50 showing no signs of letting up. What made this particular strike resonate wasn't just the absurdity of the image, but the precision of the satire. 50 Cent has long been known for his ability to weaponize humor, transforming personal rivalries into viral entertainment. This video was no exception. The AI-generated portrayal wasn't subtle, it leaned into spectacle. Diddy's digital double glistened with an exaggerated sheen, his body moving in caricatured rhythms, mocking the suave, controlled persona he had spent years projecting. The baby oil, once an odd footnote in police reports, suddenly became the centerpiece of a public takedown. The symbolism cut deeper than surface comedy. Baby oil, harmless in everyday life, was now transformed into a metaphor for scandal, secrecy, and excess. By centering the parody around that detail, 50 Cent turned an otherwise trivial raid finding into an unforgettable cultural image. And in today's media ecosystem, imagery often outlives facts. People might not recall the specifics of the charges, the dates of hearings, or the statements from attorneys, but they will remember Diddy in baby oil. That was the genius of the move, reframing the narrative around a single, ridiculous, but sticky idea. Social media responded exactly as 50 must have anticipated. Within hours, the video spread across platforms, pulling in millions of views. Reaction channels on YouTube dissected it frame by frame, TikTok creators stitched it into remixes, and Twitter, now X, lit up with jokes, memes, and commentary. The laughter became a snowball effect. What began as one parody video quickly morphed into a collective cultural event. And in the digital world, once laughter has taken hold, it becomes nearly impossible to silence. For Diddy, the consequences were immediate. Every repost of the video chipped away at the carefully cultivated aura he had built over decades. As a mogul, his brand has always been about power, control, and untouchability. But the parody stripped all of that away, reducing him to a punchline, a character in someone else's comedy sketch. What made it more painful was the fact that it wasn't rooted in fresh allegations or breaking news. It was pulled straight from the reality of his legal woes. The baby oil wasn't invented. It was reported, documented, and photographed. All 50 Cent did was connect the dots in a way that turned a courtroom detail into viral humiliation. This tactic isn't new for 50 Cent. Throughout his career, he has thrived on confrontation, often turning feuds into fuel for his brand. But the difference now is the scale. In the age of AI and instant virality, his ability to troll has evolved into something sharper, more devastating. He doesn't just release diss tracks anymore. He crafts cultural moments. And those moments live far longer than a song or a headline. They burrow into the collective memory of audiences worldwide. The timing of the release only amplified its impact. Just when the public conversation around Diddy seemed to be cooling, the video reignited it with brutal efficiency. It wasn't about proving guilt or innocence, it was about shaping perception. And in today's world, perception often matters more than legal outcomes. Diddy might still be fighting in court, but in the court of public opinion, 50 Cent had just landed a devastating blow. As the days rolled on, the video didn't fade. Instead, it metastasized. Memes continued to multiply. Comedians folded it into their routines, and even unrelated brands jumped in with sly references. The baby oil costume became shorthand for Diddy's troubles, a symbol too powerful and too ridiculous to ignore. For 50 Cent, it was another victory in a long rivalry. For Diddy, it was another reminder that the battle he faced wasn't just legal, it was cultural, and in that arena, the rules were crueler.
And 50 Cent. These two go back a long time. They have been rivals for a long time. And this week we learned that, at least from Diddy's side of things, this feud apparently went far beyond words. 50 Cent's name came up during the testimony this week of Capricorn Clark. She is a former assistant of Sean Combs who went on to become the head of marketing for his Sean John clothing brand. Clark rose successfully and professionally through the ranks of Diddy's world during her time working for him, which stretched between 2004 to 2018, so she saw a lot. Clark claimed that Diddy would threaten her, and she says he even kidnapped her in 2011. All of this matters as we build up to how 50 Cent kind of factors into what she said on the stand. Now, Capricorn Clark started working.
It wasn't just another post, it was theater. Surreal, biting, and designed to wound with precision. The AI-generated video hijacked the internet the moment it appeared. At its center stood a disturbingly lifelike digital version of Diddy, shirtless and drenched in baby oil, dancing in exaggerated fashion while promoting a fake line of baby oil products as though starring in a warped Super Bowl commercial. Behind him, endless towers of bottles shimmered under mocking lights. A deep-faked voice, eerily close to his own, narrated the spectacle, twisting the memory of that infamous raid into dark comedy. The timing was cruel. Just as Diddy seemed poised to reclaim some control over his image, 50 Cent unleashed this scorched earth parody. yanking him back into public humiliation. But the video was only part of the story. Testimony from former insider Capricorn Clark added another layer, resurfacing old shadows. She alleged that shortly after joining Diddy's circle, he once warned her in Central Park that because of her past ties to Suge Knight, one of his bitterest rivals, if anything happened, he would have to kill me. The claim, chilling on its own, painted him as someone willing to flirt with violence. Clark also recalled a tense moment at an MTV press event where 50 Cent himself was present, alleging that Diddy issued another ominous threat toward 50's manager. To understand the weight of those words, you have to remember who Curtis 50 Cent Jackson is. A product of Jamaica, Queens, 50 exploded onto the music scene in the early 2000s with hits like NDA Club and as leader of the rap group G.U. Diddy, another New York native born in Harlem and raised in Mount Vernon, rose to prominence along a parallel path. Though both carried the city's rap scene on their shoulders, they have long stood as rivals. Their feud stretches back nearly 2 decades, marked by disses like 50's 2006 track, where he accused Diddy of knowing who killed Christopher Biggie Smalls Wallace, his close friend who was murdered in 1997 during the height of the East Coast-West Coast conflict. The accusations didn't stop there. Over the years, 50 Cent has repeatedly suggested Diddy may have had knowledge of or involvement in the 1996 shooting of Tupac Shakur. While Diddy has consistently denied any connection, speculation resurfaced in 2023 when Dwayne "Keefy" Davis was arrested as the only person charged in relation to Tupac's murder. Around that same time, 50 stoked the flames with an Instagram post reading, "Damn, so Pac got lined by Brother Love, lol, time to lawyer up." For context, Brother Love is one of Diddy's many monikers. The release of the AI video felt like a sniper shot, precisely timed, captioned with a single cutting line, "If you got 1,000 bottles of baby oil, better make sure that ego stays moisturized." That was enough to set the internet ablaze. Within hours, the clip had millions of views, dominating feeds across platforms. YouTube filled with reaction videos, TikTok remixes spread like wildfire, and fans dissected it for hidden jokes. The satire struck harder because everyone remembered the raid photos rooms stacked high with baby oil that had already gone viral months before. 50 Cent resurrected that image with ruthless efficiency. The fallout was immediate. Rumors swirled that Diddy lost his temper, smashing a laptop upon seeing the video or storming out of a meeting in rage. His team scrambled to spin the narrative, but the damage was already cemented. TikTokers reenacted the scenes, celebrities reposted the clip, and even big brands found ways to riff on the joke. What 50 created wasn't just trolling, it was cultural cannon fire. A single parody had been elevated into untouchable internet history.
Also in New York, making an appearance on the Drew Barrymore show.
What are you looking for? And do you know what you're looking for?
Yeah, but just real friendship.
Friendship, but not with...
Even baby oil companies couldn't resist joining the frenzy, weaving sly nods into their ads to ride the viral wave. What started as mockery had become a global spectacle, inescapable and relentless. Yet beneath the humor lay something heavier. This wasn't just internet playfulness. It was a pointed reminder. Diddy may have sidestepped the harshest legal outcomes, but the parody dragged the world back to the raid, the unanswered rumors, and the odd details that never made sense. Then came 50 Cent's encore, a short video of him laughing for half a minute, smirking before declaring, "This ain't even the real footage. Wait until you see what's next." It was more than a joke, it was a warning. The message was clear. He was watching. He had more in reserve. And he wouldn't stop until Diddy's carefully crafted image was in ruins. Insiders wasted no time labeling it a PR catastrophe. No press release, no carefully scripted interview, no crisis management could erase the stain that AI parody left behind. The imagery had burned itself into culture. Even Diddy's allies began retreating, canceling invites, backing out of deals, keeping their distance. His name had become radioactive, whether in boardrooms or recording studios. When 50 Cent makes you the punchline, and the entire internet piles on, it ceases to be entertainment, it turns lethal. The brilliance and cruelty of the parody was that it showed no crime, no violence. Yet in many ways, it hit harder than either. It stripped away the aura of power that Diddy had built his empire upon, reducing him to a meme, a punchline, a spectacle of ridicule. And with every laugh came a darker question the public couldn't shake. Why so much baby oil? Why was it hidden away? Why did it take a raid for these bizarre details to emerge? And if that was real, what else hasn't come out yet? The video may have been artificial, but the unease it stirred was raw and real. 50 Cent knew exactly what he was doing. He had turned satire into a weapon, comedy into warfare. And while Diddy's team scrambled to suppress the clip flagging, reporting, trying to bury it, the world had already claimed it as digital folklore.
When he was asked about a beef with 50 in a 2018 interview with the radio show The Breakfast Club, Power 105.1 FM.
Hey, yo, I don't have no beef with
I don't know why.
With Fifth. He loves me. He loves me.
Do y'all really
can't
have
see
a
it?
beef?
I mean, y'all can't see it.
No, we can't
Y'all
see
can't
it,
see
man.
that he loves me?
But see,
You really, hold on, you really think that's hate?
A glance at 50 Cent's social media tells the story, post after post aimed squarely at Sean Diddy Combs. On the very day federal agents raided Diddy's Miami mansion, 50 jumped online with a jab that cut to the bone. Now, it's not Diddy do it, it's Diddy done. They don't come like that unless they got a case. And, true to form, he tacked on a link to his G-Unit clothing line, turning a federal raid into free marketing. Diddy, in contrast, tried to downplay the feud. In a Breakfast Club interview, he claimed 50 actually loved him, that there was never any real beef. But testimony from former insider Capricorn Clark told a different story. She described being at an MTV event with Diddy when 50 Cent showed up afterward. She, Diddy, and Chris Lighty, who managed both men at the time, stepped into an elevator. According to Clark, Diddy turned to Lighty and said bluntly, "I don't like all the back and forth. I don't do that. I like guns." Asked by prosecutors who the issue was with, Clark didn't hesitate. He had an issue with 50 Cent. Her testimony added to a growing list of allegations that Diddy routinely used threats, whether toward employees, associates, or even former girlfriend Cassie Ventura. But if Diddy's words carried menace, 50 Cent turned them into fuel. The moment his name surfaced in testimony, he fired back on Instagram. Cut, wait a minute, Puffy's got a gun. I can't believe this. Don't feel safe. The caption ran alongside an AI-generated image of himself on a movie set. Then he followed with another, 50 in a Yankees cap, looking terrified, with the caption, "Oh my goodness, itty bitty Diddy wants me dead. I have to lay low." He ended it with a joke. Maybe he'd hide at the Knicks-Pacers playoff game. Hours later, that's exactly where he was caught side in a shirt reading "Free Diddy," leaning fully into his brand of trolling. Meanwhile, Diddy's team fought desperately to stamp out the AI parody. But every takedown notice backfired. The more they tried to erase it, the more people wanted to see it. It was the Streisand effect in overdrive, and 50 Cent understood perfectly. He didn't argue. He didn't explain. He just dropped emojis in the comments and let the internet do the heavy lifting. He didn't need affidavits or sworn testimony. He had culture on his side, and culture shouted louder than any courtroom. In this new battlefield, Diddy lost the one thing he had always controlled, his image. With a single viral parody, his legacy wasn't mogul, producer, or tastemaker. It was baby oil. He had become a digital caricature, a meme, a punchline stamped onto his own brand. And 50 Cent made it clear he wasn't finished. More clips were waiting. More jokes were primed. Each one sharper, funnier, deadlier than the last. The most devastating move. 50 monetized the mockery. Within days, limited edition shirts, hoodies, and mugs hit the market, all branded with the AI parody. Slogans like "Stay Greased" and 100 Bottles Club sold out instantly. Influencers wore the gear on live streams. What started as satire had turned into a movement and into profit. Diddy's lawyers scrambled to fight back, firing off cease and desist letters and floating defamation claims. But every legal threat only fueled the fire. Headlines multiplied, memes spread faster, and the culture doubled down. By then, it didn't matter what the courtroom decided. The internet had already passed judgment.
It goes back to a question we got earlier today during the lunch show. Somebody had said, how come the jury just doesn't get the jury instructions at the beginning of the case as opposed to the end of the case? Well, let's see what's presented. Let's see what's actually shown during the course of the trial. There might be insufficient evidence to actually move forward with some of these charges or some of these elements. So it's interesting. Now, what about sex trafficking? What were the arguments that the defense made for why the sex trafficking should be thrown out? And by the way, let me just say this. For the prosecution's point of view, they are arguing that Jane and Cassie were victims of sex trafficking, that Combs used forced fraud or coercion to induce them to engage in sex acts with male commercial sex workers. Something of value was exchanged. There is a transportation element to it as well. What did they say? What did they argue for why this should be thrown out?
Well, everyone has to remember that Sean Combs is charged with 2 counts of sex trafficking, count 2 and then count 4. Count 2 kind of involving alleged victim number 1, that being Cassie Ventura, and then count 4 involving alleged victim number 2, that being Jane Doe. So in terms of their arguments for count 2 specifically, Alexandra Shapiro said, you know, the key element here is what Sean Combs knew, and that they allege that Cassie didn't really communicate her reluctance to doing these freak-offs or hotel nights, as they are later called, that under count 2, the defense says that the relationship was toxic for many reasons, something that they've been kind of talking to all the way dating back to the pre-trial stuff. And the defense also kind of pointing out, you know, they acknowledged that Sean Combs was, according to Alexandra Shapiro, she used the words regrettably violent. And so it's something that the defense acknowledged throughout the course of this trial, going all the way back to openings where they, you know, they say that Sean Combs, and they admit he was violent with his girlfriends, and in this case, Cassie.
The internet smelled weakness and it pounced. What began as a meme morphed into mainstream spectacle. News outlets couldn't resist covering the wildfire. Late-night hosts turned it into monologues. Comedy channels rolled out sketches. In the span of days, Diddy's unraveling had become a pop culture case study in how to dismantle a public image. 50 Cent wasn't content to let it fade. He began digging up old clips, awkward interviews, questionable sound bites, moments once brushed off as harmless. In the shadow of scandal, every recycled video took on sinister undertones. Suddenly, Diddy's entire past looked suspicious. Then came 50's podcast blitz. He popped up on show after show, spinning stories, dropping cryptic hints. "I've been told y'all, you just didn't want to listen." Each time, he ended with the same sly grin into the camera. Wait for part 2. It was psychological warfare. He didn't need fresh accusations. He only nudged, and the internet eagerly connected the dots. Fan edits, remixes, theories, all blurred together until perception felt like proof. In today's culture, vibes drown out facts, and 50 knew it. Meanwhile, Diddy fell silent. His social media accounts went dark. No statements, no appearances, not because it was strategy, but because it was survival. Every word risked being clipped and weaponized. Every image risked becoming a punchline. As his silence grew, so did the damage. Partnerships dissolved. Tour talks collapsed. Events were quietly canceled. Even longtime allies stopped answering his calls, unwilling to be collateral damage in the meme war. And 50, he watched the crumble unfold with smug precision. One post in particular detonated across platforms. A baby oil bottle perched on a throne, captioned "King of Slick." It racked up more than 5 million likes, cementing the mockery as internet legend. The subtext was sharp. This wasn't about courtrooms or revenge. It was about narrative control. 50 Cent had seized it completely. Diddy may have dodged the harshest penalties in court, but in the arena that decides reputations, the internet, he was suffering the most brutal defeat of his career. And the scariest part, the saga isn't finished. 50 keeps promising part 2. If the first strike toppled Diddy's image, the next might bury it for good.